I
Perseverance.
usually goes just as smoothly, but not tonight.
Jim Smith, right? Zach and Jim Smith.
Can you hear me okay tonight, Donna?
Well, so far, but I couldn't the last time. It's when you back up that I can't hear you.
I think also that I have a different computer tonight too.
Well, that's good. What'd you give your dogs this time to put them to sleep temporarily?
Actually, I'm on the porch and he's just watching the person across the street mow the lawn.
Oh, I hope he keeps mowing then. Hope he goes around a few extra times. That's all I can do to keep from calling my friends at the Humane Society. Every time I run into them, I know that you're doing something to those dogs.
I can get them to bark if you want me to.
Oh, well, every now and then, no, I don't mind anybody's pet. Mine's outside tonight, so I don't have to worry about them coming over, but that doesn't bother me. They're not, I've had both cats and dogs and I couldn't control either one.
Well, the funny thing is a lot of times when the Zoom starts and they hear me talking, they think that there's someone here, which is
oh, sure,
why they start barking.
it's their job to bark. Yep.
Yep. And right now they're
Michelle,
quiet.
where are you? Are you riding your bicycle?
No, I'm walking, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I'm in downtown Northville right now on my way back home.
It looks like riding a bike.
Oh,
That portion
yeah,
of your body.
I'm not the most graceful walker, so it's a lot of so.
I was just thinking if I could learn how to get that look from sitting down. I mean,
You could look like you were walking.
you got it. Or ride my bike.
Get that downtown Northville background.
Right.
There you
Oh,
go.
here, I'll
Probably
how's
not
this,
even real.
everyone?
Yeah, there
Can
we
you see
go.
it? There
Look
you
at
go.
people. Oh my God, careful. There's people.
I know, I'm 6 feet. I'm gonna be
Watch
crossing the
out.
street real
Watch out.
quick.
Just
Riding
run.
your bike on the street.
Right.
If
Yeah.
I leave early, Abby's picking me up to take me to Alma tonight to talk to the people at the home to see if we can figure out what to do with Evelyn. So if I'm gone, nice to see everybody, and I'll see you when I get back.
All right.
Have a safe
Stay in
drive.
touch and
Yeah.
come to you.
Well,
Pardon me?
it's 6:01. I see Zach just joined.
It's 6 o'clock by God's clock.
Okay, fair enough. You're right on time. There's no sound, Zach. We haven't started
Church
now.
started ringing just now, so I'm following God.
Oh, the church
I
bell.
just sent a text.
I was
to
just gonna
Smith
say,
to see if he's-
what constitutes
joining.
God's clock?
Yeah, the church bells.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, Courtney, I'm gonna turn it over to you and kick this thing off. We'll say we started at 6:02. Let you review the budget first, and then you can go over the fee schedule.
Yeah, so the major updates were to the solid waste fund. So we finished the work on just figuring out what we needed that rate to be to cover the cost. And we did talk through some of the increases that we've seen. We knew we would have a contractual increase. We knew that we would have a contractual increase because of the switch to the toters, and that plays out over the full 5 years of the contract. And then there was an increase because we are now paying the full cost of recycle, whereas in the past we paid anything over $30 a ton, and now we pay the full cost. That was offset slightly by we don't pay per ton of yard waste anymore. But we haven't really seen the benefit to that yet because I don't know that we've had a whole yard waste season under the new contract. Maybe last year, but anyway, the recycling is way more expensive than yard waste. And then there has been additional city staff time billed to those accounts, and it kind of listed those. Brush chipping has been taking longer. Dan can attest to the piles of brush chipping that we encounter. We also picked up way more Christmas trees this year and then had to chip them. And we do extra compost bag pickup in December and January that we didn't do in the past to try to help with the late falling leaves. So there are some increased costs. So that budget has now been kind of finalized in the draft form. And then really the main other thing that we were going to talk about was just the update on the sewer fund. And those revenues did come in ironically, like right where I thought they would at literally $200,000. So hopefully that will be, I had estimated $200,000 for the May-June cycle as well. And hopefully that will be underestimated because we will have some outdoor watering. Dan said he's been noticing sprinklers kicking on. Some of the industry, I didn't go through the industrial park this week, but I assume DexTech and DAPCO and some of the industry will start to get back to work now that they're allowed to. Hopefully restaurants are able to do maybe outdoor seating or something coming up. So we will hopefully see more usage, but it didn't fall off any more than what I was concerned it would. And then in there, I also mentioned that Sean had asked after last meeting about potentially using our local community stabilization funds that we get into general fund as kind of a buffer into sewer. And so that is possible. We have not gotten that money yet.
May 20th, I believe.
Is that okay? Great. So that is a possibility if we feel like, you know, it turns out to be necessary, depending on when the cost. We have not actually gotten a tap fee since October. So, you know, I have no idea if we'll get any more or not this year. Major local streets, I provided a note that we did get some revenue estimates and they didn't reduce it much. And as I said, I'm concerned because they're still assuming the $600 general fund contribution, and I don't see that happening. They don't even have enough money to fund schools or anything. So that's going to go away. So I kept it at the 25% reduction just to be on the safe side. If it comes in more, you know, fantastic. And then I mentioned the Forest Street project at about $15,000 to fix a few spots on Forest where the residents didn't have a place to put their leaves or their trash cans. And I have incorporated that into the budget for next, or for, I think I put it in this year, that we would still do it, finish it up this year in June. Yeah, that's kind of it. We didn't really make very many drastic changes. We talked about potentially doing some minor updates for plein air because we won't need as much money for plein air. Was there something else?
Adding a little bit to elections postage.
Yes. Yes. We're assuming we're going to be spending a lot of money in postage for the elections in August and November, and that was a little low. So we'll just make some minor tweaks, but those aren't, you know, substantial. So the main thing I just want to do, I had put the ads, they were in the packet and also in this packet for what gets published in the paper for the public hearings in June. So I just want to make sure we kind of come out of this with everyone in agreement on the rates and the things that are going to get published in those ads. Obviously they can go lower, but they shouldn't go higher than what was published. Right now they're set for like as high as I think they would need to go.
And that's in the back, right, Courtney, which says.
Yeah, that ad I thought was
Okay,
somewhere. Yeah, it's on page, well, we didn't page number this, but that's because I did it, not Justin. But the major local municipal street fund summaries towards the end there, and then that's where the ad is as well.
thank you.
And you can see it does take the street fund down pretty far, but normally things don't come in quite like so even if it got down to 50, we could survive that.
Courtney, I'd like to see the same salary increase in your line item as everybody else that you're proposing. I don't think that yours should stay the same. Or
We
remain.
didn't really have a, you know, review or anything, so it's not a big deal. It can just,
I agree with Sean.
whatever, that's up to you guys, I guess. But, yeah, we didn't really,
I'd like you to show it with that increase unless other council members object.
for the one in that goes in for the public hearing.
Yep.
How much is that change?
The non-union is 3%, the union was 4%.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Wilson?
Hey, Scott, I know you weren't able to join us 2 weeks ago when we went over the first
Nothing.
version of this. Did you have any questions from, either 2 weeks ago that you would have asked or brought forward, or anything of concern that you saw that you wanted to ask about? We all sort of had a chance to do that.
Yeah, no, I didn't, Sean. I did have a question, just reading the memo on the waste management fee increases got me thinking about something. And I was wondering if we have a per ton cost for solid waste. I'm looking for, what I'm getting at is there a way to compare our cost to deal with solid waste versus recyclables?
We don't really have a per ton cost for refuse. We do for recycling. We
Yeah.
have a per household cost for.
I know that. Do we ever, is there a way to get an estimate of tonnage that the
Yeah,
city generates?
They can provide that. I know they were having issues with it before, but I think they probably could provide it now. It's not as exact necessarily as but I think they could probably provide maybe like a year's worth of data.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as the recycling costs go up, the fact is very little of those recyclables actually get recycled, right? I mean, it's something like 6% of all plastics actually get recycled. The rest of it just ends up in landfills anyway.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of our recycling, and actually that's why this WARMA, the recycling authorities project, to actually look in people's cans and see what they're putting in there to make sure they're not wish cycling things, because literally you're right. I mean, if it's getting landfilled, then we're paying this high cost of recycling on something that's going to a landfill.
That's what I mean.
That's why hopefully this project that will either be this summer or next summer, depending on scheduling, will help, because we'll make sure that the stuff that at least we're paying recycling for is recyclable. And that will occur over a month period where it'll get looked at every week, and people will get flyers saying, hey, you're putting a disgusting pizza box full of pizza in here and you're contaminating everything. So.
Yeah, but I mean, also just from a market perspective, in the United States, not very much plastic that's recyclable gets recycled.
Right.
Very, very, like a single digit percentage of recyclable plastic actually gets recycled.
Yeah.
So while it's a good effort and it's worth pursuing, but I mean, realistically, if it's all ending up in a landfill and it's going to cost us more and more and more every year, it's something to know, at least, I think.
And we can ask Waste Management like what they see at the MRF that they take stuff to, as far as like percentage of plastic that the MRF's able. That's kind of the point of the Washtenaw Regional is to answer questions like that. So we should be able to get some data. Justin will be attending that meeting on Monday, so he'll be happy to ask your question about like because there's the lawyer that works for that commission is like super into SACRA, and he seems to know everything that's going on there, which is the Oakland County version. Oakland County's big recycle center, and so he may have an idea of like what they're seeing in the plastics market. We can provide some feedback on that.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, a question about the plastic, Scott, does that reflect also the recyclables that you take back to the stores? That's only 6% of it?
No.
Or is that, you're talking about recycled plastics that are in recycling?
Actually, Paul, yes, it does include the plastic soda and beer. Well, I guess it's just soda. You don't get a lot of beer in plastic bottles. But yeah, it does include that nationally. And that figure, that 6% figure is a few years old. That was based on a nationwide study.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's improved a great deal since then.
Well, there just hasn't been a market. I mean, that's why these costs are what they are, because, back, it was around the tsunami, I believe, where we were getting paid for the recycling, because we got paid if they were getting more than $30 a ton in profit, we got it. And we were getting rebates, because recycling was worth so much. And then once it went into the tank in the Great Recession, it's never come back.
Yeah.
We did get a break in the month of April because they weren't able to take it to a MRF, so they took it to a landfill, and so we didn't pay for it. But that's not quite what we want, but we did have a bit of a reduction in April.
Agreed. All right. Thank you.
So what else is there to explain to us?
I mean, the fee schedule's in there too. There really isn't a lot of updates to the fee schedule, just adding the IFT fee, which just got inadvertently left off, updating the water, wastewater numbers, and the coal tar. Let's see if I look at Justin, I think coal tar. Trash and coal tar. But there weren't any, we didn't really change too much on the fee schedule, you know, not looking to really increase things there this year.
Did you want me to explain the coal tar piece a little bit?
Sure. Please.
So we had looked at the coal tar ordinance in January, and we talked a little bit about we had gotten some complaints, particularly from the library and some of the sealant applicators about the price annually for that fee. And we looked at ways of still covering potential review of contamination with that fee being about $250 if we had to go out and take a sample and send it off to the lab. But if in that first year, the applicators don't have any violations or complaints or any issues, we had talked about reducing that fee and at the same time potentially charging a reduced fee for residents who wanted to seal their own driveways, because for the most part, if you go to a Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, they no longer sell coal tar based applicants. So the fee schedule reflects that discussion.
So we're keeping the 250 for the initial one,
For commercial.
and
Yep.
then adding the $50 per year that's in green there
for subsequent year.
for subsequent and changing residential to 50 or making.
You're applying it to your own property.
Yeah. Okay.
250 seems like a little bit much for someone who just wants to seal their own driveway.
So the seal coat permit fees that we see on the page in between your memo and the fee schedule, those are residential. Ann Arbor, Pittsfield Township, West Bloomfield, Dearborn.
Those are commercial.
Those are commercial.
So those are comparable to the 250.
Correct.
But those are annual, whereas our annual one would be 50, but the first time one would be. Because most of the time, once they submit it and it's reviewed once, they just submit the same thing every year.
Yeah.
And honestly, no, I mean, it was a huge thing years ago. Now, I mean, no one's really using coal tar in this area because I mean, they're not even selling it. They're not, you know, so you're just kind of watching for those new companies that might try to sneak it in there, but the existing companies are pretty compliant now.
With so many communities banning it,
In Washington, for sure.
the legitimate companies are getting the hint that they should no longer be using it.
Yeah. It's been years since we've had an issue.
Yeah, I mean, in the 3-ish years that we've had the application, we've only had one issue, and it was from someone who didn't submit an application.
Ours certainly are higher than everybody else's, correct? I'm looking at right.
Well, the 250 compared to, you know, the 50, 100, 50, 45, et cetera.
Which people must have changed those because when we first, I mean, they must be changing them too because when we first did it, we didn't just, I mean, I think that was, we looked at comparable stuff then. So. How many did we do last year, Mike? Do you remember?
We've
wanna say it's
historically done
5.
between like 6 and 8 per year.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
And a lot of times it's one-off where a company has a client already set, and so they come in, apply, do that one client, and then they're done for the year. So like the library, for example, that was their issue is, they hire a company, and that company, gets a $250 permit fee, and they pass it right along to the library.
You want to go over the rest of the proposed changes to the fee schedule at all, or?
I think it's just the addition of the IFT, which just got left off. That's been in place for years. And then the updating the water sewer rates, right?
Yep, okay.
Yeah, and updating the shared containers.
Yeah, the trash related that go up every year. Yep.
Yeah, which and it's 4% based on the waste management contract. Unless there's any changes that anyone would like to propose.
So Courtney, with the sewer going to 10%, that's different than last packet. So we're only draining down reserves. Am I seeing 80,000? Is that what I'm seeing projected?
It would be next year if everything goes, if the estimate, and that's based on this year's estimate plus the 10%. So if we, if the world goes back to normal and we're back up to a little bit more normal usage, it should be on the low end, but yes, it's like 80,000 or something.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, that's what I'm saying. 84 is what I'm seeing on page 26 of 29.
Yeah, that would sounds right. And really, I mean, the only big project we have is the Grand Street project, which we, already committed to before the pandemic. Everything else is pretty much just routine stuff.
Operations.
Yep.
Okay, does council have questions? I mean, this could be as short as we want to make it.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay, Zach, go ahead.
Have we had any conversations with the Western Washtenaw Recycling Authority about directing recyclables there? They seem to be able to make a profit off it, or at least not lose money so much.
Well, we have our contract with Waste Management says that we can send it anywhere we want in a certain mile radius. I don't know if they could take the quantity or not. I guess we could ask. But we do have the ability to take it, direct it to be taken wherever, as long as they can accommodate it.
Okay, and
I think we're having that conversation with Pat Gravy that Warma or the Western Washtenaw wasn't accepting any additional material.
Yeah, but we can double check with them.
okay, and perhaps maybe instead of having the trucks go there, we could see if it'd be possible to put one of their collection bins, a couple spots in the city if they're interested in that. Because every ton that goes into that is a ton we don't have to pay for, which wouldn't be as popular as just throwing it out your front door, but
Where would you do that, Zach?
I don't know. We have parking lots. Could be behind the public safety building. Could be at 8040 Broad. Could be somewhere in Dexter Crossing parking lot. I don't know.
What size containers are those?
I think there's 30 to 40 yards.
Is that like a roll-off or what is that?
Yeah,
Like the ones at Dexter Township
yep,
in their parking lot.
yep.
I'm sure that there would be a cost for that, you know, from them, but I don't know comparatively.
Yeah, but it'd be at least a conversation,
Hmm.
get options, so people who want to recycle know that it's getting recycled and not going to landfill after they spent time cleaning things off and all that stuff.
And then the MRF is reopened now. I mean, that was just a pandemic thing that sent it to the landfill. That was because the MRF got COVID and had to close. But they are back open and accepting materials now. So since the pandemic.
Personally, I don't like the idea of putting extra money into the sewer funds. I think it's important that those both operate as enterprise funds, that it's easy to start pulling here and pulling there, and then you don't know the true cost of the thing. I know it's special times, but in general, I prefer not to do that.
Hmm.
The last one was, if we're serious about lessening the stress on our citizens, I posed to Manager Nichols yesterday, I think, what the budget might look like if we wanted to cut $500,000 or $1 million out of it to provide real relief for folks. I'm curious what thoughts you have on that. Besides, $1 million is a whole lot to cut.
Yeah, we did a spreadsheet that showed what you could do in both funds. That would be, you know, like, I don't know, easy as a, so Justin can share that. So. Oh, you fixed it. Looks better than when I did it. So, surprise, surprise. Yeah, so you can see on here the mill equivalency. So 1 mil is $230,000. So we broke that down thinking maybe like a $500,000 from street and a half, not a half, 0.25 mil from streets and 0.25 from general might be feasible. But these were some projects that would be like, you know, things you could pluck out if council was interested in doing that. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory as to what they are, but those are the types of things. The top is street fund items. Second is general fund items.
Right. Well, personally, I do think it seems reasonable for us to try to reduce by $500,000. There are a couple of projects in there that, as much as I love them, I don't think will be the end of the world if we delay them a year or reduce it. That's my couple of cents.
Do you have specific ones you would remove to get to the half in each, or?
Well, I would say ice rink, because it's not been very good these past 4 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe reducing art display a bit, delaying landscaping around the stairs till next year. Let's see. Reducing the amount of sidewalk repairs. I'm not sure what that's got us up to just yet.
Yeah, so it'd be about 57 from the top and 57 from the bottom if it was an equal application to both. Not that it has to be, I suppose.
Well, let me just ask a question. So, Zach, you made the comment about real relief. Am I understanding you right? You're comparing because we postponed the vote on the 3 mil increase?
Well, if people are truly concerned about what's coming out of the pockets of our residents, we ought to make a bona fide attempt to address that.
Okay, I guess I was just trying to clarify. But I mean, in terms of impact, you know, knowing, at least my perspective is, you know, postponing the vote on that one item. I mean, 3 mils on top of the 15 that we levy is a 20% increase. A $500,000 off of what we're doing is only a 3% decrease.
Well, but that's
the bigger impact is not adding to the current burden right now. But I'm not sure that if you were to if you were to take a $500,000 away, let's just say, a $500,000 is not going to, I mean, 3% on your tax bill is going to be like $4 a month.
Yep, but it's real relief. Remember too that everyone's valuation went up this year.
1.9%.
All right. Well, I don't, we've not, I guess if somebody wants to propose, the budget as drafted minus certain items, we should get that ready for some discussion or whatever, because, we can't decide anything in a workshop.
Well, and I would think that we would still post it in the paper at the full amount, and then if we can reduce it, I mean, and then if we reduce it, great. I mean, we have 2 meetings, well, 3 meetings before we actually have to adopt it.
Right. I'm just saying, I think, rather than going through something like this list that you put up there, Zach, if there's something you don't think we should be doing that nets out as some mill equivalency reduction, can you draft that up so the rest of us can look at it?
Sure.
Maybe ahead of, maybe for the next meeting ahead of time.
Yep.
And if you need, I mean, if there's anything else like that's in a note, if there's anything else that's in a note or something that you want to know what the cost of, just let me know. Not everything's broken out easily, and I didn't get into things like extra MERS payments and OPEB payments and stuff that I didn't really find to be, especially right now with the crash of the market, I think that's still important to do. But
Yeah, see, when I was working in Indiana during the Great Recession, I was not able to give a single cent raise to any of my staff for 3 years. I found ways to move it around and try to make it happen, but they didn't do that. I had a frozen budget for 3 years, and actually it was reduced 2 of those years. And so that's my mindset, is that if there's things we can save, it's better than not.
Okay, well, this is why we meet, and if I have no problem with you proposing something, I think that I guess my request, Zach, would be that put that together, maybe as a discussion topic for next meeting on the 26th. So not to act on, but something to let us understand the logic behind the items that you're selecting and see what the impact is. Then when we get ready to have the public hearing and finally adopt it, we've have time to give it some thought.
Excuse me,
Does that make sense?
there's a public hearing. When is the public hearing?
the first meeting in June.
June 8th.
June
8th. So the millage rate, the millage rate has to be set on the 8th, and then we'll adopt the budget on the 22nd.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, so we sort of need to know what the millage rate is important on the 8th, right?
Yeah.
That's the key.
Marie will shake her head, yes,
Yes,
vigorously.
yes. Well, I mean, unless the tax bills go out late, but
No,
Yeah.
no. That's not what I'm trying. I just trying to get ahead of the question so we have time to do it. We're not doing stuff at the last minute.
Nope, that's fine. And if anyone else has any questions about the cost of anything in particular, just let me know and we can break that down.
How many citizens have we had to the hearings in the last 10 years?
Maybe we'll get more now that's on Zoom.
Mr. Murphy,
Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy.
I saw him walking today. I want to know how he was doing. He was 25 feet behind his wife, so I didn't want to their conversation.
I've talked to him a couple of times and he's been doing well. He's feisty, but it's amazing what he remembered because for his age, even though he remembered that I've been walking to work, and one day he called and it rained and he said, "Oh, I hope you drove today," because he remembered I'd been walking. So he's definitely amazing in good condition.
I did have one resident I talked to today that was basically asking that question, about whether there was going to be any relief I'm looking for her name here. Gretchen, I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll through my email. I can get it for you if you want. But anyway, I just told her that, these meetings are on Zoom, and if there's discussions about changing the millage rate, that is a council decision, and she would need to contact a council person. She lived in Westridge, Sean.
Okay.
I can get her name here.
Well, share it with all council. That's
Here we
fine.
go. Gretchen Burley Wagner was her name.
Okay.
So, and she had a question. She wanted to kind of, forecast out what her taxes were going to be. And she just had questions about, whether or not council was doing anything or thinking about doing anything.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, I can look up her address if you want. But I would have to email it to you because it's on my other computer.
Okay.
I think I can get in. Well, maybe I can.
Justin, did we get, last year, I think it was or maybe I'm off 2 years, but how long has it been since we redid the downtown garbage rates? Was that last year, I believe?
We redo it every year.
But when did you revolutionize it?
We
Oh.
revolutionized it though last year, right?
No, 2 or 3 years ago.
Been
I
that
think
long?
it's been at least 2.
Here we go.
Are we getting any negative feedback on that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, good.
The people that had the big increases we had reached out to, and they made some service changes, so we ended up mitigating some of that.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah, the equalizer.
Yes,
Yeah, that was last year.
Oh,
That's what I thought. Okay.
For all commercial customers.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was last year. Okay, good. Good.
I thought you were talking about the fee schedule for the shared containers.
yeah, that's been years. Marie, did you want to touch for a minute on your Invoice Cloud research?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I was looking up that woman's address, but I still can't find it. Yeah, so I have been talking to Invoice Cloud, and what it is it's a credit card processing service, and just like Point and Pay is, but they kind of go above and beyond what Point and Pay does. Sorry, hang on here a second. I can't see you guys. Are you there?
I see you.
Okay, well, as long as you can see me. So they do the processing just like Point and Pay does, which is our current vendor, but they also kind of go over and above. This is the company that I kind of introduced to you last year. They will do things like they will send out emails. They have their own platform that people can go in and manage their own account. They can set up payment plans. They can set up automatic debits. They can pay by text. There's just a lot more, it's a lot more robust in offering people ways to pay. And I did an analysis as far as the user fees, and for a majority of the residents paying a utility bill that pay their utility bill already by credit card, the fees would actually be less than it is on Point and Pay. They could take over the ACH from us, and the kind of the importance of that. One of the things that's made me a little bit concerned is how we add the fraud into our bank account. And even though our bank account is secure and we haven't lost anything, we have in our possession, both physically and electronically, people's banking information. Physically, it's stored in the safe deposit box down in the bank at PNC, but electronically, it's in our BSNA system. And while we have good firewalls in place, we're not as good as a major company that does that for a living. So even though there's a 95 cents per ACH, it would cost the residents $6 a year. I think the safety is a good selling point on that. So I have reached out to Point and Pay, and the guy reached out back to me just to see if they offer these kind of services. I do not believe that they do. They offer some, but not as robust as Invoice Cloud. There is a cost to the city. It's $1,200 a year. They would waive the first 3 months if we sign by the end of June. Okay. Oh, and they would also, one thing they would offer that we don't have right now is that people could pay, like say they could set up an account, and if they wanted to pay their tax bill in like 3 increments between July and September, they could just do that, and they could pay it by electronic check, and there's a small fee for that, but it's really low. So there's more flexibility. They could pay their tax bill by ACH, which we currently don't offer. And the reason I don't offer it is just because of the way properties transfer and trying to keep track of what is the account good, is it not good? It's just too burdensome administratively. But with Invoice Cloud, that people could set it up themselves. So that would be nice to allow taxes to be paid that way. So yeah, so I brought it to Courtney's attention, and I can certainly provide data. Is there anything else that you wanted me to go over, Courtney?
No, I just think, I mean, obviously with everything that's been happening, more people are doing things online and remotely. And so we're just trying to kind of stay ahead of that a little bit,
Right.
and give people as many options as maybe some of the other utilities allow, so that, you know, they can do what they're comfortable with. I mean, they can always still mail a check or drop off a check, but
Absolutely.
if they don't want to do that, here's, you know, a host of options, you know,
Oh, there
especially
you're,
like,
you're back.
you know, I just think that it's good to kind of stay on top of that technology and what people might want to use. And we were also talking, you know, just about like reopening the office and what that's going to look like. You know, we're talking about seeing if the bank will let us have a Dropbox on site. Now, I don't know if they were like big fans of that in the past, but maybe now, since the world is so different, they would lighten up on that a little bit, especially for ballots. And then also installing maybe some plexiglass or glass at the front counter so that there's a separation between the public and the staff, that kind of stuff. Doors and drawers. Actually came up here this morning with Kurt before work hours and looked around. They're doing a lot of this work for other companies. They're outfitting all of Ascension Health's offices actually right now for this kind of thing. So Chuck has a good eye for it and is going to provide a couple proposals for some different options for that. So it's kind of all in the same vein of like moving forward in this new.
And one of the things I forgot to mention, and I haven't done the total research on it yet, but just from talking to the rep with Invoice Cloud, it does look like we would be able to process permits online using the BS&A module that we already have.
Yeah.
And Invoice Cloud, which is something that we don't have the capability of doing right now, and that would stop some of the foot traffic coming in.
Well, people are doing you know, they're dropping off permits and stuff. It'd be nice if they could just pay online for them as well.
Mm-hmm. That still needs a little bit more research on how that works, because I don't know how it works yet.
That might be phase 2.
Yeah.
Because we also use Point and Pay for like AC for
Mm-hmm.
plein air and some different things too.
Well, we'll get that information then, the cost, total cost, so we can take a look at it.
Yeah, I can put something up together for the next meeting.
I think it would be a good idea. You know, reduce foot traffic in this day and age.
Mhm.
It may carry on. It may, you know, it may have a spike. It'll be for a while. It may come back next summer. How do you know?
Mhm.
So we can be prepared for it. Reduce the foot traffic, keeps those people safer, keeps our staff much safer.
Yep.
Just gonna say something and I forgot.
Okay. Marie, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'll go back to looking for that, the woman.
Oh, I got it. It's 8356 Park Ridge.
Oh, did you? Good, good.
Just
Okay.
send it out in an email if you would, please.
Okay.
And we were talking about with the plein air art sale, maybe asking Chris Jones for advice on a good platform to do the art sale, since he's in IT and local, you know, maybe to figure out how the best way is to sell the art online. Has anybody heard from anybody about Dexter Days, like any scuttlebutt in the community after the meeting? Or I guess we're not really out in the community so much, but nobody's.
Well, we have our meeting next Monday morning, and we may hear something then. I don't know. Wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
That's an online Zoom meeting as well. So
I was just
Oh,
curious.
are they connected to the chamber, or somebody else told me that they were nonprofit? So are they on their own? What's their structure, the status?
They're a Michigan nonprofit. They don't have a 501c3 that I can find. I don't think the chamber does either at the moment, actually, but they are both the Dexter Area Chamber and Dexter Days Festival are domestic Michigan nonprofits.
And they have not,
For that?
excuse me, go ahead, Donna.
What does one do to qualify for that?
They filed articles of incorporation with the state.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
found that online.
Well, as part of that, is there anything that goes with that that sort of lays out what the structure is? Are they operating from a set of bylaws, a constitution? They have some state law. What are they functioning? How are they functioning, and what lets them qualify?
Yeah, there wasn't much on there. I mean, they said it's a membership basis. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, they didn't really file anything but like very basic forms. I don't see much. Don Darnell did that work for them because his name's
Well,
all
my
over it.
concern is always when they come to us and they ask us, can we do this, or whatever it is, who is liable? If we're granting permission, then does that liability come
Well, they have
on?
insurance. They have insurance in their name.
So it's their insurance that we
Yeah.
cover. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did. That was what made me think that they must have had some sort of organization because they were able to get insurance in their name. Like Dexter Days Festival is the name of the
Yeah.
LLC. So they do have, they do have insurance.
The discussion we had at our previous meeting was that Don Darnell and Karen Maggi, who's the chair of the chamber, they were going to have a discussion about that process. I don't know if that's gone on or not. I was waiting until Monday to hear that. From our perspective, according to Karen, we have not let them go. They still have money that they owe the chamber, and there's still, in our belief, that there's a tie to the chamber, and they have to be released of that before they can actually do anything on their own. Okay, so it may go to court. I can't tell you that, but it's at this point in time, we still believe that the Dexter Days cannot be out on their own.
Okay.
Well, Donna, hopefully they got the picture that if they're spending advertising money, they're doing it at their own risk, because the sentiment I heard on Monday was that they weren't going to get support if the application was brought forward.
Okay.
Maybe I misunderstood everybody, but that's what it sounded like to me.
Okay. Is the chamber suggesting they move ahead, or since they're somehow tied, is the chamber actively exercising any kind of input to what they do or don't do? Have they been advised that you're on your own, go ahead, or we're not going to support you going ahead? What?
The answer to that is the discussions between Don and Karen. But
Okay.
at this point in time, we believe they have to go through us to be able to go forward on anything.
Okay.
And that's our belief. And we believe that's a strong legal belief of what we have and the ties before and the financial tie that they have had to us in the past.
Okay.
So that's where we are. I think they may have a different view, but that may be the members and not the legal,
Mm-hmm.
the
But
two
at this
legals that are talking about. Okay.
But at this point, doesn't matter what you say. If they really believe they're separate, they're not going to take advice from the chamber saying this is not in keeping with what's going on in Dexter, and we don't think that's a good idea. That would not help.
That would not help.
Okay, that's good. Just wanted to know.
Thank you.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it could be interesting, right?
I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's what I say. It should be.
Well, at one time, because this was an anniversary date, they wanted to take the whole thing off-site. The Dexter Days wanted to take it off-site, not downtown at all, someplace else. But we never heard where that was going to be, how it was going to be done or anything, but they wanted a carnival. Carol Jones reminded us that there has been carnivals before with Ferris wheel. Which, by the way, I will ride anything in the world in an amusement park except the Ferris wheel. I hate it. Everything else I'm fine. But just
Paul, you made me laugh because when we first got Facebook, I remember I put this picture of a Ferris wheel in the middle of Main Street on there, and oh my gosh, that caused such a hue and cry. People were like arguing over when the Ferris wheel was there, and why did we post things that were wrong? And
Yeah, nice to stir things up once in a while.
Okay, let me go around the room again here a little bit for additional questions. Donna, do you have anything more?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Scott, how about you?
I'm good, Sean.
Leave it to Zach.
that's the Ferris wheel.
Oh, nice. That's cool, Zach.
For what it's worth, my dad used to take me to the carnival all the time when I was in kindergarten. So long ago, but it's been here.
I'll go to Zach next then.
No, I got nothing.
Okay. Paul?
I'm okay. Just a question of Courtney. I was out at the garden today and it looks like it has been reworked, you know,
Yeah, we filled it.
do we have any further information? Are we waiting on the governor?
Yeah, so actually Olga was asking, or Todd actually, her husband was asking today. So what we're gonna do is the DPW are gonna do the workday activities next week since we can't have a workday. And then we're gonna let people, Olga will be sending an email to the people that have registered that, you know, if they wanna, so like the ends won't be up until, you know, at some point next week, but I don't think there's any reason that we couldn't, you know, open it. There's plenty of social distancing opportunity. And then she's going to send reminders about staying away from people and that the garden tools aren't sterilized and, you know, wear gloves when you're touching the water and all that. But so you should be getting an email from her probably tomorrow. We worked on that today.
Thank you, because I have a number of we put in a lot of weed barriers down
Yeah,
last
that's
year.
what Todd
and-
was asking about.
And they're interested in doing that again and do the whole garden this time, so.
And that shouldn't be an issue because you don't really need the ends to do that. So she'll send it out that, you know, like the weed barrier stuff can be done. I mean, obviously nobody's going to want to plant until the ends are in there. And then the guys are going to run that chicken wire around the bottom to try to prohibit the bunnies. And so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, we were just finalizing that stuff today. So along with the market, we were talking about what we're going to do with the market. So I think we're in a good place there too for June 6th.
And one final question. When they run the wire, are they running it inside or on the outside? And if they do it on the outside, we'll be glad to move those.
Yeah, I'll ask Kurt about that. I assume they would do it on the outside. So
Okay.
if they need that, I'll let them know to let you know. But
When you're ready, we can move those cement blocks so they can.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Julie, how about you next?
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, though.
Okay. And Jim, haven't heard from you today. How are you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything further. So, Courtney, anything last to add? You or Justin or staff? I appreciate all the work you guys do to put this together. You make it easy on us. It's well laid out.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we'll get those ads in the paper. I guess we never really confirmed, but I'm assuming we're keeping the Zoom meetings until we can't anymore, or, I mean, because this is June 9th, so I will post these as Zoom for the budget public hearings.
Yeah, let's keep them at 6 through the end of the allowable period, because I think one of the topics that needs to be had, you know, even if she lifts the restriction, we have to decide if we want to somehow keep doing this, I think.
Yeah, if she keeps the virtual meeting as an option, you know, which I think she likely will, but maybe make it optional instead of like.
Right. We'll have to talk about that just depending on what she says.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd post them for 6.
And then we can put the Zoom link like right in them, so then, you know, everybody has access to that in the written word like we just did for the public hearings for the land sales.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Well, have a good evening, everybody. The sun is still out.
Yeah.
Over my shoulder. I can see it out the window.
It's chilly on the porch now, though.
JD.
Gotcha.
Stay healthy, stay
Have a
safe.
good night and a good week or 10 days until we see everybody. Have a good Memorial Day.
You all too.
Bye.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Yeah, that's right. There will be after Memorial Day.
Okay.